For the first time in a long time, the New York Knicks are getting good news on the injury front. We got a major update on Jalen Brunson and his ankle to talk about. And I also did a deep stat dive on Mikal Bridges, and you're not going to believe what I found. First, though, if you want Jalen Brunson back healthy, wearing the orange and blue, and hopefully ready to rock and roll for the playoffs, do your part. Go down right now, hit that thumbs up icon, and send the good vibes. Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. We'll talk about Mikal Bridges and the stats I was able to put together that I think put a lot of color to the picture of Bridges and his tenure as a New York Knick. But Tom Thibodeau spoke to the media today, and I would say provided a pretty damn good update on Brunson and that ankle. Here is what Tibbs said, quote, he's doing more and more each day, feeling a lot better. So really good progress, but still day to day, basically. He's still doing, he's not, doing anything in practice yet. So that would be the next step for him probably. But doing a lot of shooting, a lot of work in the pool, a lot of work on the bike, stuff like that. So his conditioning is actually pretty dang good, which I would say is good overall. The progression we've seen from Brunson throughout this process, I would say, is actually ahead of schedule. There are a lot of people out there that did not believe that Brunson would play again until the playoffs. I don't believe that to be true any longer. I think he has a goal to play a couple of games prior to the playoffs to make sure he's ready to roll when it gets here. And one thing I know about Jalen Brunson that I feel absolutely confident in is nobody is going to outwork him. And he is going to do whatever he has to do to make sure he is back on the floor to help this team win games. And I think it's great that we're hearing from Tom Thibodeau that it's getting better. He has really kind of gave us an inside look that he's kind of day-to-day at this point. He was week-to-week a couple of weeks ago. Now it's day-to-day, doing shooting, I would say, some light running as well. Jalen Brunson just needs to get back out there and be cleared for contact and get through practice. We did get an update on Saturday from the Knicks Pr account on Twitter saying Jalen Brunson and his sprained right ankle is doing controlled court work, and his status will be updated in approximately 1 week. We also know that Jalen Brunson is out of that walking boot doing some controlled court work. I would say that includes some running, some shooting, some pool work, and some bike work. So good stuff on JB there. And look, I sleep well at night knowing that Jalen Brunson is doing everything he possibly can to get back on the court as soon as he can. Dude loves ball. Dude knows how important he is to this city and to this organization. And the New York Knicks are not going anywhere without Brunson, and he knows that. And he's going to do everything under his power to outwork and out-rehab anybody to make sure he's back out on the court ASAP. The question now becomes is, how close can Jalen Brunson get to being back 100% healthy? Is that possible? Is this ankle injury going to be something he's going to have to take months and through the offseason to get back to? I'm not so sure, but I know he's going to do everything he can to get back to 100%. And I'm sure he wants to play a couple of games before the playoffs get here. And the New York Knicks, they got a couple of big games coming up. Not that many games left. Crazy to say the regular season is coming to a close. But you got a game versus Dallas this week, game versus the Clippers, game versus the Bucks in Portland. I don't think Brunson will return in the month of March. But you look at the schedule, and you got April 2nd against the Cavs. Then April 8th against Boston, and April 10th against Detroit, and April 11th versus Cleveland. I would say if you ask Jalen Brunson, he's probably returning or targeting a return date to be able to play those final 4 games, to get a shot at Boston, to get a shot at Detroit, who you might match up with in round 1, and then maybe close the season against Cleveland and then have him rest in that game against Brooklyn. With 3 games against 3 playoff opponents potentially in a span of 4 days, the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, I bet he wants to play some of those games. Maybe he doesn't play in the game against Detroit and Cleveland since it's a back-to-back. But I think if you ask Brunson and put him on a lie detector, he said, I'm going to play before the regular season ends, and I have to because I don't want to work my way into shape, which he will stay in good shape because he takes care of his body in the playoffs. We need him out there. sooner rather than later, because this team goes as Jalen Brunson goes. And it's my job to keep you guys up to date. If we get any more news on Brunson, any more updates, we're going to get you guys a video as soon as possible. That's why you subscribe. So if you're not, change it. Go down right now. Hit that big red sub button so you never miss a thing. Coming up next, we got to talk about Tyler Kolek, and we got to take a look at those statistics I've been able to compile again for Mikal Bridges, which some are good and some are bad. Kind of like Mikal Bridges' season so far up to this point. First, though, I got to tell you about our proud sponsor, Factor. Shout out to Factor. When you go to factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use our promo code factorpodcast, you're going to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. If you're looking to take advantage and make your health and eating habits a priority, Factor is the place you got to get hooked up with. You get to pick your pre-made meals, which are prepped and cooked to perfection, and they are ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. If you live a busy lifestyle like I do, where you don't have time to go to the grocery store all the time, you don't always have the most time to meal prep, and you don't really have the most time to select the best options and cook them the proper way, Factor has you covered with a lot of different dietary preference options every single week. If you're looking for a meal plan that focuses in on protein, they've got that in Protein Plus. If you're looking to be smart when it comes to your calorie intake, they have that with Calorie Smart. Or if you're on a keto diet, they've got you covered there. They also have options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks on the go, and even some awesome juices that I love as well. So get started with Factor today. Go to factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use that promo code factorpodcast, and they're going to hook you up with 50% off plus free shipping on your first order. That's factormeals.com/factorpodcast. Get started today and use that promo code FactorPodcast for 50% off your first box. Plus, free shipping. Support the show, support the sponsor, be a real one. I said this a couple of days ago, and I still feel the same exact way, and I actually feel a little bit more vindicated in this take after we saw what Tyler Kolek did against the horrible Washington Wizards. I think he should be your starting point guard until Jalen Brunson returns. I think he's a better player almost at this point than Cam Payne. I think Payne scores better. Payne obviously has some more characteristics to his game that a veteran would have over Tyler Kolek. But if you're talking about what this starting lineup needs, I think Tyler Kolek just supplies that a little bit more. When you got players like Karl-Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, and Mikal Bridges, you need a guy that can get them the ball in their spots. And we saw in that second quarter, which was the best quarter of the game for the Knicks against the Wizards. I know they're no good. You don't probably want to draw too many conclusions in a game against the Wizards. But all I have is the data to look at. And the data tells me the best point guard that suited up for the Knicks on that game was Tyler Kolek. Shout out to Tommy Beer. Awesome Knicks follow. And awesome just content creator. Go give him a follow. Said this. Tyler Kolek in the second quarter. 7 assists. 0 turnovers, 3 steals, and was a plus 15. Per Basketball Reference, Kolek is the first player in Knicks franchise history with 7+ dimes, 3 steals, and no turnovers off the bench in the first half of a game. Kolek is the only player in NBA history since the league began tracking starters and non-starter stats to match or exceed those numbers as a reserve in 12 or fewer minutes. So what does that say? He had one of the best stretches in NBA history of pure point guard play. And you know what? It's backed up by this as well. Another gem from Tommy. A complete list of all players in Knicks franchise history to tally at least 7 assists and 3 steals without committing a single turnover in a quarter. It starts with Tyler Kolek. And that is it. But hey, when you got to play campaign, you got to play campaign, right? Tom Thibodeau, the evidence is right there. Tyler Kolek gives you the best chance to maximize your starting lineup. And as a Tom Thibodeau team, he tries to do that every single game. Karl-Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart are really good basketball players. Some would even say, myself at times, elite offensive players. But Cat's not an off-the-bounce creator. Mikal Bridges used to be that, doesn't do that anymore. OG is a guy that needs to get the ball in his spots. And Josh Hart, that's just Josh Hart. The Knicks need a player in the starting lineup that can drive, kick, penetrate, and create. That's Tyler Kolek. That's not Cam Payne. And believe it or not, all passes are not created equal. And what I mean by that is on time and on target passes equal a higher shooting percentage for players. And I think all 30 GMs in this league would say that Tyler Kolek is a better passer than Cam Payne. We saw it in that second quarter. Yes, Bridges got hot, but it's a lot easier to get a shot up in your spot when you're fed right in the breadbasket. I mean, we saw it when Josh Hart came to the New York Knicks, when Dante DiVincenzo came to the New York Knicks. That chemistry and that synergy with Jalen Brunson was shown in the efficiency that they played with. And I believe a guy like Cat and a guy like Mikal and OG are going to shoot better when they are receiving the ball from Kolek, because he's a higher basketball IQ player, at least when it comes to being a facilitator, than Cam Payne. And I don't mean to just shit on Cam Payne. I don't. He's had a really good season for where my expectations were. Signed as a veteran minimum player, he's probably been one of the most productive players in the league off the bench playing on a veteran minimum contract. But Cam Payne plays his game, which is 1,000 miles an hour, which is pull-up three, which is shooting from the logo. Where Cam Payne, his game, or Tyler Kolek, his game, is making others around him better. Cam Payne's game is to make himself play the best game possible, which results in shooting shots and pushing the pace. I would like to see Tyler Kolek play a little bit more, because I think Kolek playing more means the Knicks are going to play better, and especially a guy like Mikal Bridges, who we have seen so far this year, when he shoots and when he scores, the New York Knicks, they stack wins. The Knicks this year are 11-1 when Mikal Bridges scores 25-plus points in a game. Albeit, not all of those wins came against great teams. But I would say 12 games as a sample size is large enough to paint somewhat of a conclusion that when Bridges plays well and he has good volume, they're going to win games. And I think Tyler Kolek directly affects that. You look at the 12 games that Bridges has scored 25-plus points. Did it 2 times versus the Kings. Did it versus the Blazers, the Pelicans, the T-Wolves, the Grizzlies, Sixers, Heat, Jazz, Pistons, Wizards, and Hawks. The Pistons are the only game that he has scored more than 25-plus points in a game and lost. And I get it. Kings aren't that good. Blazers aren't that good. Pelicans aren't that good. Sixers aren't that good. Heat aren't that good. Jazz are no good. And the Wizards and Hawks are no good. All right, so maybe we don't want to draw a complete takeaway from that. Well, what about when he just scores 21-plus points in a game? Knicks are 18-4. When Mikal Bridges scores more than 21 points in a game, they are 18-4. And as Tom Thibodeau likes to say, the game tells you what to do. And so does prior games. And you know what that says? When this guy gets shots, and when he makes shots, they win. He doesn't even need to make shots either. The Knicks are 20-7 this year when Mikal Bridges shoots more than 16 shots in a game. When he shoots 18-plus shots, the Knicks are 12-4. So when he scores and when he simply just gets enough shots, the New York Knicks, they win games. And I get it. Those aren't always against the best teams. But man, oh man, when you take a look at the difference in what Mikal Bridges' numbers are when they win versus what they lose, or when they lose, it's eye-popping. In the 44 games the Knicks have won this year, Bridges is averaging 19 points per game, shooting 52% from the floor, getting up 14.8 shots per night, shooting 39+% from three, and shooting over 6 threes per night. Whereas in losses, his points per game go down by 3 whole points, down to 15.7. The efficiency is not nearly as good. The shot diet is relatively the same, 14.8 shots per game to 14.1. But he can't buy a bucket from three when they lose. 28.4% from downtown, and he shoots half a three less per game. I say all that to say Mikal Bridges remains the X factor for the New York Knicks. When he scores, they win. When he shoots shots, they win. When he's passive, when he's out of the picture, when he's not getting up shots, they lose a lot of games. Thing is, he still hasn't played his best against the best. And against the teams the Knicks have not beat, Boston, Cleveland, OKC, and the Los Angeles Lakers, he hasn't been good. In the 3 games versus Boston, he's averaging 13.7 points per game and shooting 31% from three. In the 2 games versus Cleveland, he's been a little bit better, but he still hasn't shot the ball well from three. In the 2 games versus OKC, he was almost unplayable. 35% from the field and 22% from downtown. Against the Lakers, he shot the ball well. He just didn't shoot it often. 11 points per game in 2 games versus the Lakers. And I get it. The Knicks have beat good teams this year. I don't want to leave that picture unpainted. They beat the Nuggets twice. They beat the Grizzlies twice. And in the 2 wins versus the Nuggets, Mikal Bridges has been okay. 13.5 points per game, 4 assists, 2.5 rebounds, 34% from the field, and 33.3% from downtown. 21.5 points per game versus the Grizzlies, 4.5 assists, 3.5 rebounds, 57.6% from the field. Awesome, but 18.2% from downtown. Look, if the Knicks want to make a run, if the Knicks want to do the things that we hope and think they can do in the playoffs, Mikal Bridges needs to play the best basketball of his NBA career because the evidence is all in our faces. Pause. When the Knicks win, Bridges plays well. When Bridges plays well, the New York Knicks win. He just needs to do it against the top teams. We all believe in you. We all want it to happen. We all need it to happen, Mikal Bridges. Show him some love. Give me some 25s down in the comment section. We need big-time Bridges to show up in a major way in the playoffs. We've seen you dominate games, and we've seen that directly affect the win and loss column. But you got to do it more consistently against the top teams. And with games coming up against the Cavs, against the Celtics, and against potentially a first-round matchup against the Pistons, I want to see you play your best ball. Show them some love and give me a follow over on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG at @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up and let's go Knicks.